to like a studio kind of thing.
Sure.
But I love doing it just at my place.
Nice.
Yeah, welcome to Milwaukee.
Thank you.
Is this your first time in Milwaukee?
It's my second time. in
Second
Milwaukee.
time?
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah.
Have you like toured or like ventured around Milwaukee ever before? Or?
The only other time I've been here was when we came to pick up Andy for the tour last year. But before that, I
Kind of just passing through.
Well, we rehearsed here for like, what did we decide it was? Like 3 days, 4 days, something like that. Yeah, we were just like rehearsing and like we, got to see almost the entirety of the city in like however long that was.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
It was cool.
I feel like it doesn't take too many days to see a good chunk of Milwaukee for sure. So you are about to go on a tour in February?
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you. That's so
should be pretty good.
exciting.
It's the first headliner tour as well. So,
Whoa.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
Kind of nuts actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're playing like an entirely new set too. Like it's like an album preview tour.
Got you. So it's strictly music people haven't heard before yet?
No, like there's gonna be some of the hits, sprinkled in. But
Yep.
yeah, we're playing the entire new album plus like again some of the older ones as well.
Dang.
So, yeah.
Dang. That's
So I'm
sick.
like, yeah, I wouldn't say I'm not nervous, but it's definitely like it's a little like, wow, this is coming up really fast.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's, like, it's really coming soon. So
And you feel like it feels right for yourself, I guess, like it.
I mean, yeah, I'm honestly the type of person where it's like I kind of just say yes to things and see how they go. You know what I mean? So
crazy.
it definitely, I'm definitely excited about it. I'm looking forward to like hitting some of these West Coast cities again. Yeah.
How many like when did you start touring around as like a with
honestly,
some people?
It was just kind of, it was like right after the pandemic. Like I didn't really do much touring.
Really? Whoa.
Yeah. This is like, I mean, this tour I'm about to go on is like my third tour.
Whoa.
Yeah. So
Got you.
we did a tour with this band, the Happy Fits. That was the first tour we did.
Okay.
That was like, I wouldn't even say that was after the pandemic because it was definitely during it.
Right, sure.
In 2021. A lot of people actually got sick during that tour as well.
Got you.
And then we did one with Oso Oso back in October of this past year, 2022. And then we're doing this one. So
Got you.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's exciting.
it is exciting.
So you're doing like West Coast this one.
Yeah, it was just more simple for me personally because I live in LA. So it going all the way out east and all that. It's like the first two tours we did started on the East Coast and like getting out to like New York or Baltimore was the first one. It was like it's expensive and it's pretty challenging.
Yeah. I've heard touring, at least from being located in the Midwest, like touring the East Coast is a little bit more feasible because the cities are so close to each other.
Mhm.
Whereas coming from the Midwest out west, it's a little bit tougher because everything's so spread out.
Yep, that's very true.
Yep.
very
That's
true.
nice. You got the connections in California and everything. And
Yeah. I mean, you can definitely you can play San Diego. You could play like I guess Orange County if you wanted. And then you can go down to like Phoenix or we're playing Mesa actually. But then outside of that, it's like you're pretty much gonna have to drive however many hours to get to Seattle, Portland.
Yep.
San Francisco. It's like those are all like pretty heavy drives. So,
Got you. Yeah.
yeah.
Do you have any favorite venues that you've played around?
Surprisingly, actually, like when we played South Carolina, we played the New Brooklyn Tavern, and that was like probably one of the best shows I've ever played in my life.
Sick.
I remember we pulled up to the venue, and it looks like a dive bar, and I would say that was probably like the most. Like probably the grittiest venue we played on the last tour, and it was like, I don't know what's gonna happen here. Like I've never been to South Carolina. I don't know what the scene's like here and everything. And then like that show it went off like it was crazy. The sound guy there, Carlin, is like he also books the venue, and he was like on top of shit. Like he really knows how to. He does a really good job with the mix and like just generally like a really cool dude, and like, has a lot of passion for what he does. You see a lot of sound guys who are kind of just like kick, snare, okay, you're done. You know what I mean? And he like really mixed the hell out of our set. So it was cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what was like was it just the energy inside That
Yeah,
venue
we
just
had
was nuts.
I was shocked how many people were there to see it.
I was
Like
gonna say,
me
like,
specifically.
how does that feel being? Because you're from Buffalo, right?
Yeah,
Originally, how does that feel? And then you live in LA.
yeah.
But how does that feel to go to South Carolina, like a city you've never been before, and playing music that people know?
It's very humbling, I would say,
Mm.
because it's like, you know, like I said earlier, it's like this is really my third tour. So like I haven't been to any of these cities, and so realistically, it's like I don't really know what my reach is. You know, like I can see the numbers on Spotify or whatever, but like to me, those are just it's just data. You know what I mean? Like I don't really know.
Right.
So to actually like go to some of these places and for people to like approach me and be like, you know, your music changed my life, or like I've been listening to you since high school, or you know whatever. It's like, wow, crazy. I
Nuts.
would have never known. You know.
Yep. That's crazy because I heard of M.A.G.S maybe 3 years ago. My cousin played this. I think it was Drugs or so.
Mm-hmm.
But and man, I being like in the indie rock genre, I love like that. Your music kind of reminded me of Fiddler
Okay.
a little bit, yeah. And they inspired me. I have a pedal board that is a skateboard
Yeah.
pedal board. And I saw like a gear breakdown of the lead singer, and he had a pedal board skateboard, and thought that was the coolest thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Fiddler's awesome.
Yeah. I was into them like a bunch of years ago, and I think I have a song on one of my records called Real Talk, and I was listening to them like very heavy. I was like listening to the Fiddler and
Is that the first song on that album?
Yeah.
Yeah,
the very first
that
song.
was actually the song that I was like, oh, I hear Fiddler in this.
Yeah, I was super into them, and then Pup at that point, and I was just like,
Okay.
let me just run it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was like, I think my friend Paul showed me that band, and he's like, you got to listen to this band, and it was like the one that's like, I don't care if you think it's cool.
Oh, okay,
Whatever
I've heard
one is
that
like.
song.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that rips. Like,
Yeah,
that's hard.
yeah.
So yeah, but that was like, I wouldn't say that like, outside of that particular album, like the one I know it doesn't even sound that good. Like I think it's their first or second album. I think it might be the first one. It's like, it sounds like it was recorded into a tin can, but like,
Yeah.
it's got the right energy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I love that album.
When you hear stuff like that, specifically Fiddler, it's like, damn, that is such a bucket list band I want to see live, because just imagining what that live show would be like. And I've seen YouTube videos and stuff of them, and it just looks insane.
Have you heard of a band called Lily?
I have not.
You should check them out. They actually tour with Fiddler a lot.
Okay.
But I saw them in LA. They're LA based. I saw them at the Moroccan Lounge, and they blew my mind.
Yo.
Like it's I can't even really describe it. You have to just have to just listen to it.
Right.
You know. But I think they're actually touring with Fiddler like next month or something
Wow,
like that. So
cool.
I would definitely check them out.
Cool. So hopefully they're coming through like Chicago or Milwaukee or something.
Yeah,
and catch
yeah.
them, because that hit two birds with one birds with one stone. Jeez.
Yeah.
It's early. Good morning.
True.
But sweet. So you got that tour coming up. Damn, that's so exciting. Do you how did you get into music originally?
So
Probably have gotten this question many, many times.
yeah, but it's I'm used to just giving the origin story. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But I grew up in a church. My dad was the pastor at the church, and he was also like, he led worship, and like we all kind of grew up just being around music and being in church and stuff. And like both my parents are like musicians, or my mom used to like, play and sing in coffee shops when she was younger and like write her own songs. And my dad's pretty much just like a lifer, like in ministry, like he's not a pastor anymore, but like for the first probably like, I think we were at that church for like 27 years or something. Like that. He was anyway. I wasn't really,
Right.
wasn't born yet. But,
Yep.
but yeah, so I kind of just grew up like around music. Like we had music going in the house all the time. And I mean, it's kind of weird because like my early influences weren't really like, we weren't really listening to a lot of like I'll say quote unquote secular music. You know, it's like I didn't know what Blink-182 was until I was like an adult. You know what I mean? I didn't know like.
So was it very much gospel music or
No? So the other thing about it is like the church I went to was like a predominantly white church, right? So we were like the only like people of color there, and so and it was also like a Pentecostal church, so it was a lot of like speaking in tongues and people falling out everywhere. It's like really, it's really interesting kind of situation, yeah. But like I think I was about 5 or 6. I started kind of wanting to like bang on the drums at the church, and they were always like, "No, get off the drums, get off the drums." And I'm like, "I want to hit the drums though." And they're like, "No, get off." So I think by the time I was like maybe 12, I tried out for the band for the like, youth group band or whatever.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And I just sat down and just played a few songs, and I had never played a kit before, and everyone was like, "Whoa, he can play drums?" I'm like, "I can play drums?" It's like crazy, And so it kind of, I guess I've always just been able to play drums. I don't know. And then I started playing guitar, like probably like I think I started getting interested in it when I was like a preteen, and then I didn't actually pick it up until I was like 17 or 18.
Gotcha.
It was kind of a funny situation. Like I was, well, I guess I'll preface it by saying that I'm a distant relative of Jimi Hendrix as well.
Whoa.
Yeah. My mom like told me when I was like 17 or 18. I was watching a Woodstock documentary, and it was the part where he was playing the national anthem, and she's like, he's your cousin, right? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, she's like, oh yeah. And she explained it. And it's like my great grandfather, Eddie Hendrix, was his first cousin, Jimmy's first cousin. Then Eddie Hendrix, he had my grandmother, Maggie Hendrix, and she got married to my grandfather, and they had, my mom, Melody Ford, and then she had me. So
that is crazy.
Super crazy. Yeah. So I was like, cool, I got to play guitar.
Was there a reason your mom didn't tell you until you were 17, 18?
Maybe she did, or maybe she told me earlier. I don't think I really could have appreciated it until about then.
Sure.
And it wasn't, honestly, I didn't even really listen to his music until I was much older. I couldn't really appreciate it until I started smoking weed. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that was like a kind of a big turning point for me. And like, I started taking guitar a little more seriously. And I think when I was like maybe 14, 15, I started to just get really interested in like punk rock, and I could kind of like feel myself pulling away from like all of the music that my friends were listening to like at church.
Sure, right.
I'm like trying to find my own stuff. I remember the first album that I bought was that first POD album. If you know that band, POD. Yeah, it's fine. But like they're just kind of like a early 2000s like rap rock like new metal band.
Ooh, okay.
But they had some Christian songs. Okay. So I like convinced my parents to let me get the album.
Sure.
But that was like, oh, you know that song that's like we are the youth of the nation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's that band.
Yeah. Okay,
so I was like, let me
totally
get that album. That was like 2001 or something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, there was like bands like that. There were definitely some like other like Christian bands that were sort of, I guess, like mainstream in the Christian world. But like I didn't know what was going on with anything else in music at that point. Wow. You know what I mean? I was like totally kind of isolated in like my interest and like what I was allowed to listen to.
Interesting.
So, yeah, I think like late teens, early 20s is when I started to find some other stuff,
Gotcha.
Found hardcore music, punk music and stuff like that.
Yep. Yeah. I feel like that, like hardcore and punk would be just more like the rebellious kind of that, those genres.
I wasn't really like a rebellious kid. I think, I have 4 siblings, and out of the 4 of us, I was probably the rebellious one, but like, I listened to my parents and like I respected them and stuff like that. But when it came to music, I really just kind of went out of my way to like find my own way. Yeah. And like, didn't really, I would just like hide music and stuff. Like me and my younger sister would go to the library and order CDs and like burn them on a computer.
Yeah.
And like, my mom would always want, if we bought an album, she would want to like read the lyrics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I do remember this one time I was trying to buy this like August Burns Red album.
Oh, I've heard of that band.
Yeah. And like we went to Hot Topic. And,
Hey.
and I went there and I was like, Mom, I want to get this album. She's like, And she took the CD and she walked up to the guy at the counter, like, totally all black, like tattoos, piercings, everything. She's like, I'm going to listen to this album before I buy. I want to read the lyrics, So he put the album on in the store and like she sat there and like, it's just like, and she's like sitting there reading the lyrics, and I'm like, crossing my fingers, like just hoping that she doesn't see anything in there that's gonna like upset her or whatever. And luckily she was like, okay, this passes the vibe check. Yeah. So that worked out. But yeah. And then eventually I kind of just stopped checking in with them. I'm like, I can just do this on my own.
Once you get to that point.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow, that's crazy that you started playing drums before you knew how to play drums. Yeah. What?
Drums are just kind of like, I feel like drums are the instrument that I have like the deepest vocabulary, if that makes sense. Because it's all kind of intuition. With guitar and like bass and even singing, it's like those things all kind of like came to me naturally, but I really had to work on them. Like I had to work to get good at guitar. I had to work on my voice to like get to the point where I could like really sing to like my true capacity. I don't think I can sing to my full capacity yet. Like I'm still kind of like, learning how to
getting into it.
Yeah. I started taking voice lessons during the pandemic, and that helped a lot.
Sure.
Because before that, I would play shows and just blow my voice out.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
Whereas now it's like, if I'm playing 30 shows in a row, I can't afford to blow my voice out within the first week.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, how do you record everything yourself on M.A.G.S tracks?
Yeah, I do. I would say this most recent album that I'm working on, I recorded everything, and I worked with a producer this time. This is the first time I've ever worked with a producer.
Okay.
But before that, I would record everything, mix everything.
Wow.
Like just, do all my own production, just mostly out of necessity.
Sure.
I used to, I played in a bunch of bands when I was in Buffalo, and like, we would write an EP and then we'd go to a studio and, record the songs. And then like, just for some reason, like during the process of mixing, I would kind of just like never be quite satisfied, be like, okay, that's good enough, but it's like in my mind, I'm like, I think I could do this better. Like I think if I had my own kind of situation to do this, like I think I could do it and just get the sounds that I wanted and not have to like try to explain to somebody.
Right.
So yeah, I've been recording since I was about 13.
Wow, sure.
My cousin gave me this like early demo version of this program from Adobe, like Adobe Audition, I think it's called.
Okay, yeah.
I don't even know if they still make it, but like I had it, and I had like a Radio Shack microphone that I would plug into the headphone jack on my desktop. Whoa, and that was like
Radio Shack, yeah.
Yeah. That was like my intro to multi-tracking, And then I also had like a digital, what do you call those things? It's kind of like an 8-track, but it's like a digital one.
Sure, I had one like that. It was a Tascam recorder.
Something like that, yeah. Mine was like a Roland VS,
okay,
something, bunch of numbers and letters.
With like 8 tracks that you can
bounce them down to just one stereo track, and yeah, I would make so many records on that thing. Like my brother and I had a joke band. Growing up,
sure,
we would just sit there and we'd write. We probably have 200 songs.
Hey,
we wrote so many songs, and they were all just like silly and like I wasn't really like thinking about how like beneficial it was to just be making music like that. One thing I didn't mention was that I was also homeschooled, right?
Wow.
So it's like I was at home with my siblings just making music.
Whoa.
Most of the time.
So your siblings are musicians too?
Yeah. Everyone is sort of like musically inclined, we'll say. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So just a musical household.
Yeah, pretty much. It was like my, being homeschooled as well. Like my mom would teach us a lot of stuff like through music, through song. She would just write songs and like, just give us ways of remembering things, like if it's like memorizing the state capitals or like the presidents or whatever, it's like it was a song.
Yep. And for whatever reason, when it's in song version, you just remember it so much better.
Still remember so much of that stuff. Yeah, honestly.
Yeah. Wow. So would you record like in your bedroom kind of thing as far as when you started doing mag stuff, or would you go to a studio?
The first EP that I did, I recorded in my parents' basement. And I remember I just had like one of those like terrible like $40 condenser mics you can get from Guitar Center, like the M.A.G.S ones, like the pencil condenser or whatever. I recorded the whole EP like that.
Wow. One microphone.
With one microphone.
Wow.
Yeah. I did actually end up going to my friend Nick's place and re-recording the drums because like I recorded the drums with one microphone too, and they sounded terrible. Yeah. Or not that they sounded terrible, but they were just in mono, and when he mastered it, they just disappeared. So I'm like, all right, well, let's just re-record them. Yep. But everything else was done with one microphone. I would just take that same condenser, put it in front of the guitar amp. I used it to sing into. Yep. I used it for everything, and I mean, a couple of those songs actually ended up on like TV shows. You know what I mean? Yeah, there was that one of those songs ended up on a show called Shameless.
Yeah, what?
Yeah. And there was a couple other shows that was on, but like I always thought it was kind of funny because like I didn't really try with that one. I was like, let me just get these ideas out, because that was supposed to be a demo. And then I think I posted on like Facebook that I was gonna release a demo, like just kind of randomly, and then my buddy Mike hit me up and he's like, yo, I just started a label, like, do you want to just put your EP out on my label? And I'm like, I mean, no, but what's the situation? He explained it, and he's like, we could just split everything 50-50. I'm like, okay, fine,
Gotcha.
And then through that, I ended up getting like a small licensing deal through them, and
with Shameless.
Yeah, and that's how that worked out.
So it was the demo that got put onto Shameless.
Yeah.
Wow, that is cool.
Yeah.
Are you still with that label that you're?
No.
But okay.
No.
Gotcha.
I mean, by the time this comes out, it'll probably be announced. But I just signed with Smart Punk Records.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I signed with them like mid to late last year.
Okay.
Really, really excited to be working with them. I've always been sort of like, I don't want to say anti-label, just I think there was a point when I was doing M.A.G.S where I was like, okay, well, if this is going to just be me, then it's literally just going to be me, and like the kind of DIY or die mentality sort of took over, and I was like, fuck the label, fuck everything, and I just want to like do my own thing, and I don't want anyone to tell me what to do. And then when the Smart Punk situation came up, I was like, they were like, well, we respect that, and we want to just like help you get to the next point that you want to get to, and at the time I had just gotten out of a different deal that wasn't so good for me, and it really just kind of was like right place, right time, and I'm really happy with like how we were able to sort of like communicate. I was able to communicate the things that I wanted, and like they were extremely accommodating and like understanding of my situation, and generally just like wanting to help. I think I can respect that they're trying to do things differently. They're trying to set their label up to where it's like an artist friendly deal. It's like I'm clear on every part of my deal. I can see everything. There's no like weirdness,
like hidden things.
Yeah. So I feel really good about signing with them, and like
yeah.
I don't really know where I want to go after this, but like right now, like this is like really
feels
perfect
good.
for me. Yeah, it feels really good.
That is interesting. Good insight, because I'm independent and I kind of have that DIY or die mentality right now. Mm-hmm. And I really don't know the major benefits of a label, of what they could provide, other than, I guess, a label being a bank in a way also, and having resources and connections. But I guess as far as like, what advice would you have for someone to get recognized by, I guess, labels that, because I would love to work with a label that kind of puts the artist first and has their best intentions in mind. Mm-hmm. it just seems like there's a lot of sliminess in the music industry business. And
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to give advice on that just because like everybody's situation is different. And, you know, again, if you had asked me this like even a year ago, I would have just been like, don't sign to a label.
sure,
Like, don't, you know what I mean? It's like, just like own your masters and like, you
Mm.
know, but you know, like you said, it really does come down to like money and resources really, you know, and there's a lot that you can do as an independent artist. But there is a certain level that unless you have, you know, rich parents or like a venture capitalist like funding you, or you
Mm.
have a great job that you do full time and you do music on the side, it's like it can be tough to break through that ceiling.
Mm.
So to you know, start like putting yourself out there and like, you know, looking for labels that align with you and actually, you know, like the label doesn't necessarily like, um, they shouldn't, I don't think they should make all your decisions for you. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like there's certain artists who kind of put themselves in situations where the label kind of like really owns them, you know, and it's like, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that, you got to do this. And then you kind of lose your autonomy. You know what I mean? So,
Oof.
yeah, I like I said, I feel lucky that like I don't have to necessarily like sacrifice my creative direction or like, um, you know, what I want to do with my brand realistically. You know, they kind of support me with whatever I want to do.
Yeah.
And you know, I can kind of outsource certain things. Like, you know, they have like in-house marketing, but I have the ability to hire my own, you know, PR or whatever if I want to.
If you want to.
Yeah, yeah. So, and same thing with even like graphic design, like something simple like graphic design. It's like they have an in-house person that I can hit up, but I can also hit up whoever I want. You know, I'm not necessarily tied to any particular like situation.
Sure.
You know?
Right.
So, and that was again one of the things that was appealing about that to me.
Yeah. Because they give you the resources as far as those kinds of people.
Yeah, it's like it's available, but like you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So I guess your future goals with M.A.G.S, like where do you see yourself in? It's a hard question. 5 years.
Yeah. Well, I think lately I have been asking myself that a lot, to be honest, because the further you get into the music industry, the more you realize that like the music industry kind of sucks. You know, it's really like it's hard to trust people because everybody kind of sees you as an opportunity. You know, if you're talented and you have a good sound and you have something that they can sell, you become a product. You know, and I think that I am kind of reevaluating like how I want to present myself, you know, and there are other things that I'm interested in outside of just like making records, you know. Making records is something I'm always going to do, like even if it's just for fun or just for, you know, whatever reason, if I'm inspired. But I think in the next few years, like I want to start branching out into some other stuff, you know what I mean? Like I really want to push more into like my brand in terms of like fashion.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
You know, creating my own sort of like I guess kind of just like making my merch a little more like specific to me. You know what I mean? It's easy enough to just go get merch printed, but I think like having stuff that's like limited run, like handmade, you know, like I'm a big advocate for like you know, secondhand shopping and like vintage wear and stuff like that. And you know, I've really wanted to just do a whole line of clothes that are just repurposed clothes, and like, you know, I can do my own prints on them, or I can, you know, me and my girl, like we have a lot of like we've made some like patches, you know, like custom patches that we want to start to roll out here in a bit. I haven't even told anybody that yet, actually.
Yeah.
So it's an exclusive.
Oh, that is so cool.
But I've definitely got some ideas about like just sort of the branding of all of it. Additionally, you know, I'm thinking a little bit more about like how I want to interact with my fan base. You know, because there's always going to be social media. There's always going to be like the sort of main ways of communicating with people, but like to me it's way more important to have like one-on-one relationships with my fans and like create like a community. So I'm looking into like how I can make M.A.G.S a bit more of like a community versus like, look at me, I'm so amazing. You know what I mean? Because I don't necessarily want this shit to just be about me. I'm more interested in like being together and like, making it a situation where everyone feels like they're involved.
How do you think what would be a good platform to kind of allow that? Like I've heard of like there's like Twitch streams you can do, and like what do you think that is something that you might do that would kind of make that more one-on-one connection with a fan?
I know a lot of artists are using Discord right now.
Discord, that was the one.
Discord. Yeah. Generally, just even as simple as just having like a newsletter, or just like a way of like reaching people individually versus like, here's a post, I hope you see it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be this new thing. I think just implementing things that already exist that aren't necessarily Instagram. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And even something like, it's kind of basic and kind of like old school, but having a street team, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just like, hey, you want to be a part of this? Like, be a part of it, like for real. You know what I mean? Wow. Like print these flyers, hang them up in your city kind of thing. You know what I mean?
I was just talking to, you'll meet him on Tuesday, but the guitarist for Social Sig, Jacob, about, I remember talking to another guy about, Grizz had a street team, and he was a part of Grizz's street team. And I think that's such a good idea to, especially if you're a band trying to promote a show in another city, really trying to get a cool base of people there. Yeah. That's such a good idea.
Yeah. I was actually going to ask you a question. 'Cause I remember like being in Buffalo and feeling kind of, I think the main thing about like when you start a band and you're in like kind of either like a Rust Belt city or like a small town or like a Midwest city, it's like getting noticed can be kind of tricky. Like, what kind of things are you looking into with your band to branch out and like get people involved and interested in Social Sig?
Yeah. It's a good question. So right now, a big thing that I'm pushing is the podcast, obviously. Really trying to have more guests on if they're like coming in town to do a show, and reaching out to them and maybe having them on the podcast, and just kind of growing the podcast naturally, really growing my online presence. Right now, we have a lot of shows booked up for spring, kind of starting to get more out of Milwaukee doing shows, like Chicago, Minneapolis, and then this summer we have some pretty crazy like Milwaukee-based shows booked. Like a big show that we have in August is the Turner Hall Ballroom. So I guess like we have such a big buzz in Milwaukee right now, and it's such a buzzing scene too. But like, I don't know. Just really trying to push like social media presence and just getting out there, I guess. And like trying to figure out ways to expand an audience to do shows, I guess like more out of the like Midwest area eventually. So I don't know. It's a hard question.
It is a hard question.
Because I can't picture like where I will be in like 2 years. So I don't know.
If I'm being perfectly honest, I don't know that it's necessarily like important to like know where you're going to be in like 2, 3, 5 years. I think having like goals is good. I think having like a general plan for like the year or like the next like year and a half is good, but like the things just change so fast, and it's like you have to always be ready to pivot anyway. Like I'm constantly being told like the only thing that people look at these days is TikTok. It's like
that too.
The only way to grow as an artist and as a band is to be posting on TikTok 3 times a day, 7 days a week.
Are you on TikTok?
I am on TikTok. And I, for some reason, I just don't believe it. you know, like I just don't necessarily subscribe to it. I'm gonna do it because like it's a part of it. It's a game, really. You know what I mean? It's a part of the game.
That's what it feels.
Yeah, but it's like anything else. You know what I mean? It's like 3, 4, 5 years ago, like Instagram was TikTok,
right.
you know, and before that, Facebook was TikTok, and before that, MySpace was TikTok. Yeah, you know what I mean? Right. So it's like there's always something new right around the corner, you know. And I'm not saying that because it's like, you know, avoid TikTok altogether, but it's like I said, things are always in flux, and I like to think more about like, what am I trying to say with my music and my art? Like, does my music affect people? Does it make me feel something? I think that's really what's important, you know, like, because like if you go viral, it's like you're gonna be viral, and then you're gonna be expected to just do that until you're dead, you know? And to me, like, that doesn't seem sustainable. Like, people that blow up end up kind of just, you get stuck in a loop. You get
stuck in doing something that
you become a slave to your audience, you know? So like, I tend to think of myself as a bit of a anti-conformist. So if everyone's on TikTok, like there's a pretty good chance that like I'm probably like feeling very against it. You know, I'm doing it right now because it's like it's helping. It is helping, you know, but at the same time, like my focus is always about the art and about like how do I put like as much of myself into this to get people to like resonate with it, you know. I think it can be and I the thing that I have that I think a lot of people don't have right now is people that you know, I have a fan base, you know, and having a fan base already and then trying to move them over somewhere, it's a little bit easier than like starting from scratch. You know, if you have like a niche and you start from scratch, it's like that can work, you know, but like yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what I'm saying anymore. But
no, that's an interesting point too, because I've had that conversation as far as like being desperate on TikTok. I feel you can kind of notice in some people's content, and what I've been intentionally trying to put into place with the podcast. I do a weekly vlog once a week, and just trying to do things and find content that I like to create. To where, and it's good content. I do these song breakdowns like once a month. I want to do that more. But just making content that I like to create at the end of the day, but also, I guess, making things that if you really want to do a deep dive on Social Sig and on me, it's available. Like, yeah, it's going to be wherever you want to look for it. So, yeah, just trying to figure out. TikTok is, it's so hard to figure out the algorithm and like do something from a genuine way.
I will say though, my manager said something to me kind of recently, because like I have like, I guess, years worth of content, like photos, videos and stuff from shows and from just things that I've done, but I don't post it because I'm like, oh, well, it's old and it's like the window of opportunity is sort of past, you know. But she's like, you have all this content, just post it. All you have to do is post it, right? You know, like just take a clip of a song and take a clip of a video, put them together, put it on the internet. That's it. Yeah. You know, and I'm also sort of a chronic overthinker, right? So I've sat there and I've thought about like, well, it has to be like at this level, you know, like my standards for shit is so high sometimes where I'm just like, it's gotta look right. It's gotta feel right. It's gotta be this like, extra thing. I want to stand out. I want to be like, I don't know. I don't know. I just, it's always this thing of like, I have expectations for myself and what I think people want to see. But in reality, like people are just filming things with a potato. Yeah, right. And it goes viral. And I'm like, oh, okay.
It really seems like the quality too doesn't matter for the algorithm.
It really doesn't. And I think it's a little frustrating for me personally, just because it's like, you know, up until this point, everything that I have done has been up to my standards, you know? And what I'm realizing is that the standards of people around me aren't quite as high. And so it's like, I don't have to try as hard, you know? Yeah. You know, but I think that only applies to content realistically, because like my music, it's always gonna, it's always gonna be at that standard, you know what I mean? But yeah, these are things I've been thinking about lately. It's just like how to transcend the art versus content sort of like
Yeah.
thing, you
I
know?
think just also it depends on how you want to brand your own brand, but I feel that fans or people, they really just want to get to know you as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I want to really, a part of Social Sig is I'm really selling just authenticity and being me, I guess.
Yeah.
And people gravitate towards that. And I think in a world now where everything is so, there's a lot of fakeness, I guess, and especially online, and you can really put out a false image of who you are. And there's different reasons for everything, but from being someone that grew up with social media and just like I was once that person that did put out false images of myself online, and it just made me feel awful, and just restarting different Instagrams and really trying to figure it out because no one really knows. Like social media is just such a new thing, and yeah, just trying to do it the best way possible.
Very true. Is Social Sig your band, or is it like a true band, you know?
It's my band, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like the front man. Up until this last record I released in August, everything has been all me. But since we've been doing more live shows and stuff, 3 songs on the last album have like the full band kind of recordings, so to speak. But I do everything on my laptop and get just real meticulous with the bedroom recording and everything that way.
Yeah. I can attest to that. It's like, it's funny because there are obviously pros and cons to having like being a part of like a unit, you know, like you and like 5 other people, whatever. And it's like, you know, when everyone is sort of like equal within a group, it's like everyone has an opinion that they can share. Everybody has things they can contribute. And then when it's sort of like, you know, it's your project, it's like you make all the decisions and you have complete control, but you know, you have to like kind of shoulder the weight of everything. You know what I mean? I think it's like, it's just a trade-off. You know what I mean? It depends on what makes the most sense for the individual who's doing it. You know?
Right. I've always loved the, just this having my hands in everything. So that I have a very particular kind of what you were saying too, just a standard for myself on how I want things to be. So I've found that having like a full band, I have a great group of dudes that I jam with, and we jam through new songs too, and just kind of still figuring it out. But at the end of the day, I'm kind of pressing all the buttons and running it.
Where does the name come from, Social Sig?
Yes. Back in college, probably around like 2019 for me, I had just moved into a house with a great group of dudes, and we all like smoked vapes and all that, and we got these cigarette filters and bags of tobacco, and we had them in the closet in the living room. And every time we would have people over, we would stuff these filters with tobacco and smoke them. We called them social cigarettes. And we were like, oh, they're just socially, like we don't actually smoke cigarettes, but I don't know, it's kind of the bit.
Yeah.
And so we would always just smoke those and roll them. And the rule in the house was you couldn't smoke them unless it was with like another person. It was a social thing. And then so that happened, and then I was going under a different name for a long time. I was going under Arcilla Kid, and I just didn't love because I love being an individual, but underneath like a name that isn't associated. Like I didn't want someone to see me on the street and be like, "Yo, Arcilla Kid," but people do that with Social Sig now, which I like, but it fits more.
Yeah.
And I was at work one day, and my friend Ryan, she saw a show at Summerfest, and she's like, "Oh my god, I had the craziest night. I smoked a Social Sig with Young the Giant." And I was like, whoa. And at that moment, I was still kind of trying to just constantly find that right name for the brand, myself, my music, and everything I wanted to do, and maybe eventually a podcast. And it just checked all the boxes. And I immediately went to Instagram, and I was like, is this available? Is this available? And then just like seeing like Spotify, like if there's any band.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it stuck.
Similar situation with me where like,
I was going to ask.
I was, like the whole genesis of M.A.G.S per se was like I was in another band in Buffalo that ended like pretty abruptly, and I had just like all this like pent up like frustration about how that project ended, and so I was like, well, I'm just gonna do everything myself, you know. And I was trying to think of like a band name or like a moniker or whatever, and like I it's like a long story about how I actually came up with the name, but like the short version is basically like, I think I said it earlier, my grandma's name is Maggie. And she was at my parents' house and I was there. My mom was having like a party of some kind. And I remember my ex was there as well. And one of the things that we had talked about was like, you know, if we ever had kids, like we both like the name Maggie, you know what I mean? So and she was there and I was like feeling weird about her being there, talked to my grandma, kind of had this like epiphany of like, oh, you know, the other thing was that there was a friend I knew from church who had a sister who was named Maggie, and she would call her Mags as a nickname. So I just had this like moment of like universal alignment, you know, and I was like, Mags, that's it. So I remember calling my friend Mike at the label, and I was like, the project, the name is Mags. He's like, cool. A few days later, he hits me up and he's like, yo, actually, there's another artist named Mags on Spotify. So if like you just do it the same way that their spelling is, it's gonna all of your albums and stuff are gonna be under her like name,
right?
You know, and I'm like, well, that sucks. He's like, well, you could change the spelling. You could do it with a Z or like 2 G's. I'm like, that's a terrible idea. Right. So I remember being in the shower. I come up with my best ideas in the shower. But I was in the shower and I was like, what if it was like Pharrell's band, like NERD, you know? Like what if it was like M.A.G.S, like with periods and stuff? And when I got out of the shower, I called him and I was like, okay, it's still Mags, same spelling, just with like periods, like it's an acronym.
Yep.
And he's like, cool, what does it stand for? I'm like, I literally made it up on the spot. I was like, marijuana and good sex. And he's like, I was like, cool, okay. And and then just from that point, it stuck. I didn't really like advertise it as that for a long time. Just, it was a joke. And I also, at the time, I didn't smoke weed, and it was just kind of like an inside joke to myself, really. But I guess recently, you know, probably the last few years, like I get asked that a lot, and I don't always feel like telling the whole grandma story, you know. So like a quick answer is it's marijuana and good sex, you know. Yeah. You know, and then even like putting it on clothes, like I have like a red pullover, like a merch item that just says like M.A.G.S, like in like a college kind of font.
Yeah.
And so like people wear it, and they always tweet at me, and they're like my grandma. I was at a wedding, my grandma asked me what it meant, and I didn't want to tell her. I guess you wouldn't wear that to a wedding, but you know, just like a family event. My grandma's asking me what M.A.G.S stands for. It's like, grandma,
it's a band.
It's a band. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's sweet. The origin stories of band names are always so interesting. I was wondering that myself, though, where the periods came in. Was it always all capitals when it was just Mags? No
Originally,
periods?
I wanted it to just be all lowercase, actually. You know, but it just I don't know, like it just got too complicated, and I thought just adding the periods, like it is a little like tricky to like put it in on Google. It's like you gotta like you know, whatever. But like yeah, it's stuck, and I like it. And a lot of people now, because my Instagram name is Elliot Mags, like they just think that's my last name.
Sure. Yeah.
It's not like
yeah.
It's totally not. But it is like a catchy stage name, you know. Like
totally.
Because like you know how like at a time when you know you'd be on like MySpace or whatever, and you would just like make your name like your username like your first name and then like whatever bands you were in. You know, or like,
see, I'm past the MySpace era. I never had a MySpace.
Okay. You didn't, I wouldn't say that you didn't miss anything. But I also kind of missed it. I was like right at the tail end.
Okay.
Of it. But I remember seeing a lot of like dudes who were in bands, their own personal MySpaces were just like, you know, Greg and then like whatever their band was. So I kind of just did that on Instagram, and I just made it Elliot Mags. And then people just started thinking that was my name.
Right. I mean, it's a cool name too, Elliot Mags.
It works. It definitely rolls off the tongue. But it was more of like a given name than one I like chose for myself. But it also makes it so that people can't really like find much information about me personally, which
That's
is
true. Yep.
pretty nice.
One thing I wanted to ask you is, what is your, because you go on tours, what does like your normal day look like? Or week, if that's easier?
Well, it's actually funny because like I was just telling Andy, who was sitting right behind you, my recent goals for this year are to put myself on a more like a better schedule. I make a lot of like music during the day. I go for a lot of walks. You know, I currently don't have like a day job or anything like that. And I wouldn't say that I particularly can live off of my music, but I am able to kind of just make it work. I do things here and there just to like, you know, pay my rent and stuff.
Yep.
But lately, starting this year, I've been, you know, getting up a little earlier, getting up at like 9:30 instead of like 1.
Yeah.
You know, I don't try not to smoke weed until later in the day until I get all my shit done.
Yep.
But yeah, lately I've been just getting up a little earlier, and then I'll try to get most of my work done like before like 2 or 3.
Okay.
You know, just like if I need to send an email or like do whatever, send a single email, it takes me yeah. That's the other thing is I am like have very strong ADHD tendencies. You know what I mean? So I'll start like 5 things and have them all going at once.
Yeah.
I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna do the dishes, and I'm also gonna like gotta get the music right, and then I'm also gonna like be on a phone call, and I'm gonna be, you know, trying to watch this YouTube. I got all this stuff going at once. So I have been like just making myself like a day, like the night before, I'll just go on my notes app and just be like 9:30, wake up, eat cereal, 10 o'clock.
I literally do the same thing.
Yeah. I have to now. So otherwise it's like I wake up at whatever time and, you know, might hit a wake and bake and then take a walk. You know what I mean? It's like that type of stuff it's cool, and like, you know, it's fun for a while, but like it's kind of ironic because I think when I was younger, all I ever wanted to do was do music full time. And now that I do music full time, I wish I had a job.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I want to do this tour, you know, and I think like the next thing for me is to get like a little part-time thing just so I've got somewhere to be every day or every few days or so, just because like it's tough. It's tough just like trying to survive off of music. It's not really like a viable thing sometimes.
Interesting.
And you know, I think that's the goal for a lot of young artists. It's like if I can just live off my music and I can just you know, do what I'm passionate about all the time, then I'll be happy. You know, and I finally got to that point. Like I live in Los Angeles, you know, I have a nice apartment that I finally got myself into a great situation with like my living situation. I've lived all over the place, and a lot of the places I've lived have been terrible. And you know, like the most of last year, I was kind of just like floating. You know what I mean? So this year, I am being a little more mindful about like just treating myself better, you know, because that's really what it comes down to. Like the having like a schedule that is sort of free form is not good for me personally. So treating myself better looks like being more mindful about my mental health. You know what I mean? And I guess for me, having somewhere to be is good for me. You know?
Yeah.
And I it's funny because I think I always do a little better on tour because it's like you got to get up at a certain time to get to the venue, and you know you got to eat at a certain time or you're not going to get to eat later. You know, you got to poop at a certain time. You're not going to get to, you know, it's all that kind of stuff. So like, you know, when I come
regimented.
home, and I come home, and I'm just like, you know, doing whatever. So yeah, I think I forgot what you asked me, but like,
what does your day look like?
Yeah,
you know?
my day, my week. Sometimes I go do sessions too. You know, I'll collaborate with some people, or I've also just been like working really hard in Ableton. I used to be completely in Pro Tools. I have a background in audio engineering, so like Pro Tools was like my weapon of choice. But I haven't had like a live drum kit or like amps to record with in a very long time. So Ableton is more like, you know, like an all-inclusive paintbrush kit with all the colors and everything built into it. Pro Tools is like a blank canvas that you gotta like bring your own paint, bring everything, and that's cool, you know. But it's also just a little limiting at times. So I've been putting in Ableton hours lately.
Ableton I've used before. We use Logic and GarageBand, mostly GarageBand. I want to get more familiar with Logic, but Ableton I have used before, and it just seems so I don't know, it's so robotic in a way. And everyone, I mean, if you grew up on Pro Tools, and I'm sure Ableton is familiar to you, but it's just so interesting, the different formats of those DAWs.
Honestly, Ableton like broke my brain for like a good like 6 months or so. Like I think I downloaded it back in like 2018, and I opened it and I was like, whoa, like I don't know what's going on in here. And so I was just making music in Pro Tools, and then I think beginning of last year, I was just like, you know what, like I really got to get serious about like what I'm making, because I'm trying to make beats in Pro Tools, and like you can do it, but I think I needed to find like a better workflow and like just get my ideas out faster, you know. And Ableton allowed me to do that, and also like having like plugins that do certain things that Ableton does automatically. You know, it's like if I want to like reverse something, like you can do it in Pro Tools with like click, 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 and then in Ableton you just press the R button. And it's like, that's it. If we want to slow the whole track down, you really gotta want to slow the track down in Pro Tools. Like you have to sit there and like do like a whole thing, and in Ableton you just drag the BPM down, and it slows it down. You know? So it's really opened up my creative process. I've made songs in the last year that like I never would have thought that I could make, just because, you know, I have a tool now that that's more intuitive to that kind of stuff, like sound manipulation and all that. Yeah.
What on your next album is makes it a little bit different than the past albums, if you can talk about it?
I can talk about it. Yeah. The next album, man. The next album, it's different. It's like it's I would say it's definitely a lot heavier. It's way heavier. You're gonna probably need a calculator at times, because it's got a lot of like odd time signatures and odd meter stuff. There's like a song where it's like a 4/4 groove, but like the guitar riff is like in 3/4.
Oh man,
you know, there's a lot of breakdowns, screaming. There's like it's kind of dark. It's like I think this is the album that I've been afraid to make for a really long time. It's stuff that I grew up listening to. You know what I mean? Like stuff that like heavily influenced me as a young adult, and like stuff that influenced like my guitar playing, you know. Like I don't know if you're familiar with a band called As Cities Burn, but like you should check them out. They're fucking sick.
What was it?
As Cities Burn.
Okay.
Yeah. They're like they were a band. They were signed to, I think they were signed to like Solid State Records. It's like a label from the early to mid 2000s. They had a lot of like the kind of middle of the road Christian bands who were kind of like, we're not really Christian band, but like,
I think of Switchfoot as a middle of the road Christian band.
I would say they were probably more on the side of like contemporary Christian, but they had some tracks that were a little more vague. But this is like heavy stuff, and like some of the guys in the band might have been Christians. It's like how that went, you know. But the guitar playing in that band was like revolutionary for me, you know. Or bands like Coheed and Cambria or like Circa Survive, like a lot of those bands like really influenced me. So I kind of am just like doing the music that makes me resonate, you know what I mean?
Gotcha. Yeah.
My previous albums, I feel like in a way I kind of chose that sound. You know, I that joke band I was telling you about, like we would just, my brother and I would literally just write whatever. We would be like, let's do a country song, you know, or like let's just write a song about toast, you know, let's write a song about whatever, and it would always just be a different genre. So when I started doing M.A.G.S, like I kind of just took the sound from my previous band and kind of just kept doing it, you know?
Sure.
And that was very much kind of in the realm of like the Strokes or Arctic Monkeys, you know, Tokyo Police Club kind of stuff. And that's cool. I love that music. But it's like music that I didn't find until way later in life. You know, I didn't listen to an Arctic Monkeys record until um what, like 2013, 14, something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, oh, I can understand why people
Right.
like this. It's like, it's also a big thing. Like Buffalo music is like kind of based in like a certain era of indie rock. You know what I mean? But then there's also bands like Every Time I Die, who were like, they're from Buffalo, they're huge in Buffalo, or you know, were, but like I'm kind of pulling a little bit of that into my new album too.
Gotcha.
It's like
your roots.
Yeah,
more.
exactly. Yeah, I'm just kind of like running with it. So, but you asked me about what I was doing on the new album, right?
I think you covered it pretty
I think I
well.
covered it. Yeah, I was like, did I even answer the question?
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Do you have a release date for it?
Not like an official release date. It'll probably, I'm thinking like early summer.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, there'll be a couple singles coming out soon. I'm actually I'm announcing this next single. It'll probably be out by the time we talk about this comes out, you know. So it's like I'm announcing the first single on the 19th. So there'll be a song coming in February.
Nice.
Right, early February.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let's go. So a single off the album.
Yeah.
And then are you gonna do another single maybe, or just that one?
There'll be a couple singles, few singles, and then the album comes out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. How does your process go as far as like how do you feel after, or how did you feel after releasing your self-titled album, and how long did it take you to get back into like writing again? Because I've always found that it's such like for me at least, it's kind of like a chapter. This last album I released in August was the third one I did, and the two before that like just build, release, and then it just feels like a nice like empty slate. Also kind of confusing time because it's like, where do I go now? It's like,
yeah,
you know.
Well, that's a good question actually. I always have like a couple things on deck. You know, like I'm not even finished with my current album, and I'm already working on the new one.
Yo,
I was showing Andy a clip of a new idea I had. I actually wrote this back in the summer, and I found it recently. This is what happens: is I think most artists work this way, where they'll just like record a little something into their phone, like, and then like, oh, that's actually perfect for what I'm doing right now. You know, so I've got dozens and dozens of ideas, but like after an album comes out, usually like I'm kind of just it's like a good sense of like release and relief. But then I kind of just get right back to work. You know, I'm trying to teach myself how to enjoy things more, because I tend to just kind of grind. Just grind and grind and just like keep writing music, keep making beats, like keep trying to like, you know, outdo myself really. You know, so like this next album, when it comes out, it's like I'm gonna tour off it for a while, and I'm going to you know, kind of build out the world around the album. But I've actually I'll tell you this, but I have another album that I recorded in December, like for my girlfriend.
Whoa.
And it's like 9 songs. I don't know if or when I'm gonna drop it, but like it's a totally different sound. It's like not anything like any of my previous stuff. I just I had the idea when I was on the last tour to make her an album for her birthday.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so I made this album in like a week. Wow. And it's like I made this album in a week in Ableton, and I kind of just like put these. I had some like beats I had made earlier in the year. And I kind of just compiled a bunch of stuff that I thought would fit together nicely. And, you know, I think I remember I did the vocals for the last song the day before I flew out to see her. She lives in New York.
Gotcha.
But like,
did she know about it?
No, it was a surprise.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's a project that like I'll maybe release one day. Yeah. You know, but I'm very much in the way of like I always got stuff kind of coming up. I'm always working on stuff, and like I've got you know, a bunch of hard drives that are full of songs that like I haven't put out, that I've been recording for you know 5+ years type of stuff. So it never stops. It just never ends.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? Like music is something I'm so passionate about, and like recording is something I'm also very passionate about. So it's just never gonna stop. You know, I have a hard time like getting comfortable with like what I just did. You know, it's like, and I guess realistically, like going back to the content thing for a second, it's like you're the most visible when you're releasing music. You know, you're the most kind of like the algorithm favors you when you're posting and promoting your stuff, of course, you know. So if you are just like, hey guys, I put an album out a year ago, you listened to it, right? It's like, yeah, we listened to it. Like, you still like it? It's like, yeah.
It's
like, what's next? It's like, okay, it's coming.
Right.
It's coming. I'm working on it. Yeah. So I think like, again, like no matter what, I'm probably just going to keep getting things ready for what's next.
Yep. Just keeping it moving. And that is interesting. Going back to what you were saying about maybe you'll get like a part-time gig or something like that. Do you have other interests in like other industries outside of music that you might want to? I mean, outside of fashion too, that maybe you could do something part-time.
Yes and no. I ask myself this all the time. It's like, what else couldn't you do, bro? Like, what else do you even like?
Right.
You know, like what else are you good at? You know, I think I've picked up a lot of skills over the few years I've been in LA. You know, like when I first moved out there, I got this job at a catering company. And I was working like I was managing a catering company.
Whoa.
No management experience, no food service experience, and I got this job like managing like a huge catering company.
Oh my god!
just because, you know, I got the, what do the kids say? I got the Riz or whatever. I don't know.
The what? The clout?
The Riz, bro.
The Riz?
The Riz.
I don't know what that is.
You can just cut that part off.
Okay.
But I was like, I was doing this catering company job or whatever for a while. But like, I guess I could technically put that on my resume. I did that for like 2 years. You know what I mean?
Wow.
If I really wanted to.
Right.
But I guess as far as things that I'm actually interested in, that's like, I love photography. You know, like I have never necessarily taken myself super seriously as like a photographer, like a professional photographer, but like, because, you know, I'm also like super ADHD. Like I just want to like sit there and learn everything I can about like a specific topic. So I know a lot about photography.
Yep.
I just haven't really like pursued it in like a like professional way.
Right.
It's just kind of been like a hobby for me, you know?
Yeah.
Same thing kind of goes with like, I don't know. I've noticed you have the bike hanging on the wall. Like I'm actually really into like bikes and stuff as well. I've been very interested in like kind of teaching myself how to like build them and like clean them and take them apart and all that.
That's a fixed gear.
Yeah, I can tell.
Yep. Yeah.
That's like, and you know, it's funny. When we were in Buffalo at the beginning of the last tour, I stopped by my friend Dino's house, and he's got like a bunch of bikes, and he let me ride one because I was interested in maybe getting one, and I had never ridden a bike with Eclipse before.
Yo, yeah.
So the one, and it's not his fault at all, but like one of them, one of the ones I rode, like it had like the tire pressure was kind of low, and I made a turn with my feet in the clips, and I dumped the bike, and I fell directly onto my chest. Like, it was super painful. And I walked back, and I was like super like the wind knocked out of me. He's like, "You good?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm good." Yeah, and I had cut my palm open. And I had to like play guitar, so I like super glued it.
Oh yeah, super glue does work for things like that.
It does.
It really does.
I think there's actually pictures of me at that show, and I had my hand like wrapped up in some like gauze or something like that. But like,
could have been worse. At least it didn't hit your head, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I mean, I also am like very into skateboarding as well.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that.
Another thing I'm super passionate about. I think I wanted to be a pro skater before I wanted to be a musician. Yeah.
No way. You still skate?
Yeah, I guess I do. I just don't like try to do anything with it. I like to cruise.
Yeah.
You know?
No.
But like, I'm not out here trying to get these clips or like,
Yep,
you know, kick with the 10 stair or whatever. I'm not going to skate parks anymore. I just like to, you know, skate around and stuff.
I'll tell people too, if you're just learning how to skateboard, just riding the skateboard, I find so much fulfillment and just
super
there's
freeing.
Something to it. Just riding a piece of wood with 4 wheels is so much fun.
I feel similarly about riding my bike, actually, like skating, riding my bike, like anything that like I'm in control of, like the momentum of it. You know, I love driving too. Like anything with wheels, I'm all about driving.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I used to have this job where I worked at a car dealership and I was like running the lot. You know, like I was in charge of all the new and used cars and stuff. So I was like constantly just driving
Different cars,
all kinds of jobs, all kinds of places, and like I get to drive all the cars and stuff like that. That was like I love that job. I think if it was like, it didn't pay that great, but it was like the perfect, like I'm home from school kind of job, or like I'm just getting in. This is like my first job kind of thing. I did that for like 6 years.
Damn.
And
I'm sure you got a good encyclopedia of cars, I guess, and how they feel.
Absolutely.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's cool though. I really did like that job. It was just something that I think like, well, what I was saying was like with the freedom of being able to just like propel yourself. You know what I mean? Like for some reason to me that's a very like, it just resonates with me. You know what I mean? Like skateboarding and
like skateboarding feeds my soul in a way when you're just cruising, man.
Yeah. And I think we owe as humanity, we owe a lot to skateboarding. Like as far as like influencing the culture. Yeah. You know, and just generally like I think skateboarding is one of the greatest accomplishments of humans, period.
It's so
you know what I mean?
Sick.
It's so sick. It's art. It really it's art, and it's a sport, it's expression. There's so much like you can watch 5 people do the same trick and it's all going to look different because they all have a different way of doing it. You know?
Different body types, different like what kind of clothes you wear is all part of it too. And I remember hearing a podcast of Steve-O, and he was saying that in the early days too, skateboarding really pushed media and videography. With filming and
all the subcultures that go with skateboarding, of course, too. It's like, you know, some of the most prolific filmers are skate filmers. You know what I mean? Some of the most like important designers are, you know, are skate designers. You know what I mean? It's like, I think I really appreciate also like some of the pros that I looked up to as a kid are now artists. You know what I mean? Like some of the what's this dude? Spanky, like Kevin Long.
Spanky,
he's my guy. I love watching his
clips, his edits,
all of it. Yeah, like
it's so sick.
You know, or Ed Templeton. You know, I like watching his photography. Like Ray Barbie, his photography is incredible. I don't know if I'm
familiar with those.
Check out Ray Barbie.
Okay.
Yeah, Ed Templeton as well. They're like the OGs, of course. But like, there's so much about skateboarding that influenced me as a young adult, and I think, you know, the crossover between skateboarding and punk rock, of course. You know what I mean? Like all of that.
Totally all comes together.
Yeah.
And being in LA, the skateboarders over there,
it's intimidating.
Oh sure.
It's extremely intimidating. I don't even go to the skate parks anymore, honestly, because it's like every 9-year-old can, you know, just outskate you.
Like, kickflip, backflip, a down rail.
It's true, yeah. Or they can like do a McTwist or some shit. All right, well,
it's like,
cool.
All right, it's crazy how it's progressing, and I feel like that's with everything now with the internet. You'll see these just little 5-year-olds doing things that
doing 900s.
Yeah, right. Absolutely insane. Are we doing good on time, by the way?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, maybe like 10 more minutes.
Sure.
Cool. Yeah, skateboarding is awesome. Do you ever bring a skateboard on tour or like a bike on tour?
I haven't had the room to do it yet. The only thing about skating now is I don't have health insurance. Like I'm not trying to break my wrists or anything like that.
That's
you know what I'm saying? So like I'm a little weary of like, you know, trying to, you know, skate when I'm on the road, because like if I get hurt, it's just kind of
a big liability.
It's a big liability, exactly.
That's so true. Do you what do you tour in? What have you toured in, and what will you be doing with this next one as far as like vehicle and how does that look?
Usually just get like a transit, like a Ford Transit or something like that. The first tour we did, we were in a Sprinter, which was super nice, but also spoiled me for, you know, it's like, oh, we're in the Sprinter with the leather seats and the Bluetooth and like all the amenities and stuff. And then next tour we're in a Transit. Like, this is fine.
Yeah,
this is fine.
You went backwards a little bit.
A lot. Yeah, we had like the high roof Sprinter and went to like the low roof Transit. And it's like, okay, well, all right, this is fine. This will get us from, you know, city to city.
It'll work.
Yeah. I'm probably gonna buy a van at some point though. I think like rentals are cool for shorter runs, but if it's like a long thing, it's like,
Yeah.
it's expensive. It's very expensive.
Would you do like a sprinter kind of thing, or?
I don't know. Probably just get like something on Craigslist, low key.
Yeah.
Just like spend like $3,000 and then just like run it into the ground for a bit.
Totally.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's like I don't like dealing with like, mechanical issues and stuff, but like
that's true too.
Everyone's kind of got to figure that out eventually.
Yeah, I feel eventually I would love to get a sprinter van with like the ladder on the back, some souped up wheels, like kind of like that dark gray color.
If I was gonna get a sprinter, I would probably just live in it, honestly.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too.
Yeah,
that'd be sweet. That's kind of Goth Babe inspires me with that.
Yeah.
You know Goth Babe?
Yeah.
He's like living on a sailboat now, which is crazy.
Whoa, really?
Full time, and then he'll just do these tours and then come back and live on the sailboat, I think, on the Pacific Ocean.
Good for him.
Pretty sure. Yeah, crazy.
I like, couldn't be me, but that's fine.
Yeah. Do you so your home base is in LA.
Yeah.
How long is the tour, this next one?
It's pretty short. We're only gonna be gone for like 11 days.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's just a quick jaunt across the West Coast.
Yep, and then tentatively planning like another tour once the album drops after that.
Yeah, I'm planning to do a little more solo stuff too. Just like kind of try to get around without having the kind of overhead expenses of taking the whole band out and everything. Just to kind of like still be out there, still playing shows and stuff, but like. I think like, I'm also have a booking agent, of course, as well. So like, there's certain tours that just will sometimes just like come through, like, hey, this band wants to take you out. Like, what do you think? Kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Is that how it like normally works? Because at the point I'm at right now, I'll see these tours and just be so inspired by like, holy shit, like. They're going here, and the biggest run we've done is like a Milwaukee, Chicago, Madison, and I want to like, it's kind of my next goal is to be like an opening band to like a bigger band and just like experience that and just do it. It's like, what do you think? Do you think being a part of a label kind of helps you find those connections, or is it more so just like
not necessarily
the bands that like, oh, they want to take you because like you know each other?
It kind of depends. It's all of those things, honestly. Like a label can definitely help. Having a booking agent helps a lot.
Okay,
like I'd say that's probably the best way to like, kind of get on the radar of some of those bands. Because like the booking agent, assuming they're a good booking agent, will submit you for tours, and the band will kind of preview all the the bands that are submitted, they'll usually pick one from there.
Gotcha.
I know I got submitted for a few tours this year, so I'm just waiting to hear back. It's still like barely into the first month of the year, so there's a lot of stuff that's still kind of in flux. But then also like, again, just sometimes making friends with bands, or like, if there's like a local promoter who puts you on a big show and the band likes you, like, that can work out too sometimes. Who, Milo,
we're opening for him in Madison.
I was talking to him a while ago, and he was telling me about how he got linked with Beach Bunny, and it was just like, one of the guitarists like saw his Instagram, was like, you're dope,
cool,
open for us, you know what I mean? So it can kind of just be whatever,
Right.
I don't necessarily like, that's never happened to me per se, but like, I think that if you're visible, and I think that's where social media comes into play. It's like if you're visible and you're doing shit and like you're playing shows, it's like, you don't maybe think people are watching, but people are, and like sometimes you just need the right person to see you, and things can kind of happen from there.
Yeah. And the experience that I've gotten as far as the opportunities that we've been able to get, it's just all who you know. But that's good to hear that as far as like that next level that I want to get to is that like, you don't necessarily need this whole production kind of thing.
Yeah, you don't always need it. Sometimes it's like I said, I don't necessarily believe in luck, but like I do believe that like the opportunities that are for you will make themselves known to you.
Rob Dyrdek's quote: "Make your own luck."
Yeah. Absolutely. I think. And then also I think just having like that DIY like tenacity. You know what I mean? Like just try to play as many shows as you can, and like, just put on the best show you can every time. You play for 5 people, 10 people. It's like there might be an A&R in the crowd. There might be somebody who books a festival in that city who brings you back, and then you play in front of 10,000 people.
Right.
But yeah.
The world's crazy. Yeah, it's fun. Cool. Wrap this up if that's all right.
Sure.
Anything else you want to plug or talk about?
I talked about the album, talked about the upcoming tour.
You got a show on Tuesday at Cactus Club.
Yeah, show on Tuesday, Cactus Club. So far, I've heard that it's selling pretty well for a Tuesday night, especially. So, for like kind of a thrown together week notice kind of show. It's like I'm not quite expecting to come here and play for a ton of people, but I'm excited about it.
Yeah,
I'm really excited.
First time playing in Milwaukee, right?
First time.
Let's
yeah.
go.
It's funny because it's like when Andy started playing with me, people in Milwaukee started DMing me on Instagram. It's like, when are you gonna play Milwaukee?
Yeah,
I don't know. Hopefully soon.
Yeah.
So if you're listening and you're in Milwaukee, now's the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Pull up.
Yep. Yeah. Let's do it. All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come over and chat with me, and hope to see you guys at the show on Tuesday. Bye.